Welcome to the Kratom Sobriety Podcast. My name is Charlie, and I'm with Jacob this week.
Hey, Charlie. How are you doing?
Good. And this is episode 163. Jay has the interview this week.
I spoke to Lauren, who is a young woman that she mostly used powder kratom, but she had some extract products towards the end of her usage. She did a fairly organized and well-planned taper and was successful with that. And we did spend some time specifically talking about it because I know our guests really are always interested in people that have had success tapering off. So we dive all into that, and I hope that it's helpful for some of you. Give that a listen, and if you're thinking about a taper, she was more than willing to offer advice or guidance. So feel free to let us know if you want us to put you in touch with Lauren.
That's good to hear. We recently did some statistics on our first 100 or so episodes, and the majority of folks who were guests on our podcast did cold turkey, and tapering was just a very infrequent form of detoxing off kratom, at least with our audience.
Yeah, it takes a heck of a lot of discipline. I did it once, but relapsed there really quickly after and could never really do it again. I have a lot of respect for people that can pull that off.
Yes. So this week, I thought for our opener, we could speculate some more about what's going on with the popular blue bottle, kava-kratom drinks that many of our listeners have had trouble with. And recently, there has been some testing done of this product through a website called Test My Kratom. And test results showed they had about 40 milligrams of michigamine, and it had no other alkaloids or metabolites like 7-OH or the pseudo-indoxyl. 40 milligrams is a lot less than the other extract products that are out there.
Yeah, some of the other popular ones come in the 100 to 150 range, and then there's some even more super strong ones that go all the way up to 250, I think, based on that site that you mentioned. And it doesn't really make a lot of logical sense if you just look at it from a pure normetrogene content perspective. So what else could possibly be going on there? The only thing that I can think of is, and I have no personal experience with this specific product, nor with kava in general, but the only thing I can think of and where my brain's logically goes to is it has to be something with the kratom kava mixture that I don't know if it releases the release of the chemicals that come in your brain with kratom plus the activity that is triggered with kava, and maybe that produces some sort of combination addicting effect. But that's just pure speculation on my part because, yeah, you're right. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense given the content vis-a-vis other extract products.
And the only counter argument to that is users, when they say they consume a similar amount of powder kratom, which would be about 2 to 3 grams, and a similar amount of kava, it doesn't have the same effect. I think they use pineapple juice to amplify the mixture. But just if you look at the social forums, many of our guests, there is just something that's very intoxicating with it that leads people to use it more compulsively than other products. We had that Ian, the insider that worked distributing that product, and a little bit of a spoiler alert. Since he's been on, he's actually quit kratom, and we're going to book him to do a follow-up interview. But I think that episode especially illustrates the impact of this product. Way back at episode 22, we had a standalone episode where we had JP come on as a guest. For many, there was a speculation that it was kratom pseudo-indoxyl. That was the secret ingredient. It's a potent metabolite like 7-OH.
Yeah.
But when you see the test results, there isn't any in there.
Yeah, like you're saying, there's not really a detectable amount or even really much of a trace amount in it, which is odd. Yeah, it is really baffling because If you listen to our full catalog, you'll hear a common story, which is I used powder. Yeah, I probably was addicted to it, but something about trying those drinks really took my addiction to a whole new level. And that seems to be a very common story. And like
But
just really it is really perplexing.
you interviewed one of our early guests who said that they made a home batch of it through a process like similar to fermentation and reproduced it at home, and said it was early on that he even called the company and talked to somebody and confirmed that's what they were doing. It was some kind of fermentation process. That's all hearsay. Audience members, if you have a definitive answer to what's going on with the kratom kava recipe that makes it just have a little bit more of an edge, please let us know in terms of like formula, the ingredients. They have been genius putting it in a 5-hour like shot, mainstreaming it. It's in 7-Elevens and Circle K's, and it's been promoted as an energy drink. And that has been genius. And then online, they've been really marketing it to the sober curious and leveraged social influencers to promote them. Definitely, it has the most social media ads of
Yeah.
any other product. But
The other
anyway,
thing too could be there's obviously that ritualization part of any sort of addiction. So even I read something where the most addicting thing right now for human beings in general is just your phone, and that ritual of waking up and picking up your phone and scrolling through it before you get out of bed or however you may interact with your phone. But there's a lot of a ritualization aspect. There's similar things with some people, for whatever reason, can drink beer and then they get into liquor and they have a problem, or drink wine and then they start drinking hard liquor and it's all alcohol. They have problems with one versus the other. So I don't know, maybe that plays a part in it too, but it's really
yes,
hard to know.
yes. And everybody has a different way that our bodies metabolize different products, get different results. And there is a school of thought like this is a useless debate. It doesn't matter for your recovery, that
True.
it has kratom and kava, and both of those are known to be habit forming. And you just look at the results, consequences in your life as evidence that it's not working for you and that continuing to consume it isn't good for you. And it is a reason enough to quit and just put it in the bucket. It's a drug that I shouldn't consume.
I don't think we're going to solve it, but yeah, if you have any insight, listeners, let us know, and we'd love to talk a little more about it and figure out what might be going on there.
Thanks for indulging me today,
Of
Jacob. And we'll
course.
get to this interview with
Welcome to the Kratom Sobriety Podcast. My name is Jacob, and today on the podcast, I have the pleasure of speaking to Lauren. Lauren, how are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing great as well. It's the end of August, early September 2025, and it's a long weekend, so I'm excited for that. All right.
Same.
Yeah. Don't get too many of those in the US, unfortunately. All right. So how would you introduce yourself to someone that you've just met, Lauren? Things like your age, profession, where you live, and family, anything you want to share.
I live in Florida. I've lived in Florida for the majority of my life. I just turned 30 in July. And for work, I'm a social media and communications specialist. I work on a marketing team for a big financial company. I work 100% from home. I also do some creative marketing consulting. And I also teach yoga on the side. I do photography on the side as well. So I definitely stay very busy. But when I'm not working, definitely have a lot of things that bring me joy. I like to play video games and like computer games. I consider myself a cozy gamer. I love to read. I like crafting. I actually have this obsession with bedazzling things. It's just a good way to keep my hands busy. And I also, considering that I live in Florida, I love going to the beach. I am married. no kids. I have 2 cats and 1 dog. They're all black fur all over my house, which is lovely. So I vacuum a lot as well. And I am the oldest daughter in my family. Oldest granddaughter, only niece, all that good stuff. So
Oh, wow.
I'm like the only girl in my family. I'm like the fearless leader. They wouldn't probably say that, but I would say that.
That's cool. Yeah, you got a lot going on. That's great. And as you mentioned, you got a lot of hobbies and things you like to do for fun. I would love to talk more about that with you, but I think our listeners probably want to get into some of your not so fun stuff, at least in the beginning, until you turned it around. So let's start with the basics. What is your abstinence date from Kratom, and how long have you been able to stay away from it?
I officially quit Kratom on April 10th, 2025. So it's been 142 days, which is 4 months and 20 days today. So almost 5 months, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. And yeah, I found the 3-month mark, the 6-month mark, the year mark, and then once you get to 5 years, those are the biggest milestones, at least that I've experienced in recovery. So that's pretty cool. How did you get involved with Kratom to begin with? When did you first encounter it, and what made you want to try it?
So, like I've heard many people say, feel like my Kratom use was a blur. So it took me a little bit to figure out the timelines, but after doing some digging, I realized that I started in June of 2020. I thought it was 4 years, but I guess it was really almost 5 years of use. And at that time, I was sober from alcohol for probably 5 or 6 months. Currently, I am very proud to say that I've been alcohol-free for 3 years and 8 months. Um,
Awesome.
yeah, but I was really, like, on and off. I was struggling with it for a while. At the time that I tried Kratom, like I said, I was probably 5 or 6 months sober from alcohol. And I remember the first day that I tried it very vividly. I was out to breakfast with my now husband, and I remember saying to him, I'm just in such a good mood today. Like, I feel really good. I'm happy. Like, I was experiencing genuine joy in sobriety. So, I have no clue really why I felt so curious about trying other things. And I think deep down, I was looking for something that would help with social anxiety, like at social events, because I was never really someone that drank by myself. It was really my social anxiety that was the motivation to drink. So,
Yeah.
definitely was not looking to get into another addiction or another problem. But I remember being at this breakfast diner and looking out the window, and we were in a plaza, and I saw a smoke shop from across the way. And in the window, it said Kava, Kratom, CBD, blinking lights. And I had tried Kava and
Yeah.
CBD before. And Kava and CBD, both I've tried several times by itself. And I never personally got much of an effect from either of them. So I view those things as like these harmless, natural products that didn't get me high, that I didn't find addicting. So I naturally lumped Kratom into that category, thinking, oh, it's probably just this like natural thing, just curiosity killed the cat. And I walked over there with my husband after breakfast. And I walked in there and I asked the cashier, I was like, have you ever tried this Kratom stuff? What's it about? And he said that he had never tried it. And so I did a quick Google search just standing there. And the only thing that I read, the only thing that I saw was if you take Kratom in smaller amounts, it's stimulating. And if you take it in larger amounts, it's sedating and euphoric. And I was like, whoa, okay, sold. I didn't look into it.
Yeah.
My drug seeking behavior, I was like, euphoric, count me in. He was like,
Yeah.
try these capsules over here. Try the white strain or whatever. That seems to be popular. So I said, okay. So I grabbed the bag of the capsules and he said, try 2. And then if you don't feel anything, maybe try 2 more and then just go from there. So I was like, okay. So I went home. I did exactly that. I think I maybe had 4 or 6 and I was like waiting for something to happen. And then it kicked in. And I specifically remember looking at my husband and going, oh, this is like drugs. So I immediately knew that this was comparable to drugs. It reminded me of painkillers that I had tried in the past. Honestly, like I was high
Yeah.
and it was just the powder, just the capsules, and it was off to the races from there.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. I talked to so many people that have a history of alcohol addiction, myself included, and something about that 6 months to year mark where like people are doing really good, but something creeps in and then they find themselves. Sometimes it's nicotine, sometimes it's kratom, sometimes it's something
Mhm.
else. Just, oh, maybe that'll be good to try. I guess we all have to learn those lessons. And yeah, I've talked to other people too that have said, and I felt the same thing with, oh yeah, this is drugs. You unlocked a memory of early in my kratom usage where the first time I tried capsules, I didn't feel anything, but then I took a teaspoon of the straight powder and I remember, oh yeah, this is like Vicodin or something. Okay, so you mentioned then it was off to the races. How did your usage progress from like when you tried it to when you started to realize that maybe this isn't good for you or could become problematic?
I found this CBD slash kava slash kratom shop. So this was a different place than the first place that I went to, which was just like a traditional smoke shop. And it was like so clean, so organized. There were all these different strains on the wall. Like it almost looked like a dispensary. And they were just saying how great kratom was. And they were teaching me all about it. And it just seemed like this great thing, this harmless natural plant. And so I bought some just loose powder and I started just tossing and washing it, like just scoops of powder, tossing it in my mouth, drinking some water. And gosh, I was just not informed about what I was doing, right? Like I was just taking it whenever I wanted to. I was putting it like huge scoops of it in my coffee in the morning, going to work. Then I started bringing it with me everywhere. And in the beginning, like I think within that first year, I really was not even hiding it. Like I don't think I knew what I was doing, so I didn't feel any shame. Like I remember going out to eat or like going to Top Golf with my friends and they're all drinking and then I whip out this green powder and put it in my water and I'm like, "Look guys, like I have my thing too." Like I really had no clue that it was bad for me. But clearly I knew that it was getting me high and giving me these euphoric feelings where I was wanting to take it every single day. I wasn't like that with anything before. Like I abused alcohol. I was more of a binge drinker. I never got addicted to drugs. I feel like I was more of just like a party girl, I guess, for the lack of a better word. But this was the first time that I was like hooked on something that I wanted to take it all day, every day. And I feel like it progressed very quickly.
Yeah.
It wasn't until maybe the end of my first year of use where I really started to feel that kratom rage that people talk about. The good feelings were coming less and less, and it was like I was just so irritable and snapping and, like, flying off the handle, and just I remember feeling very empty and doing some research, and then that's where I really found, like, the Quitting Kratom Reddit and just seeing how so many people were struggling with it and that I wasn't alone, and I was like, "Oh gosh, okay. Like, I have to do something about this." And that was my first and only quit before this quit. I quit for 30 days. I went cold turkey. It was terrible. Like, it was absolutely terrible. Like, my mental health would like, I never want to get to a dark place like that again.
Yeah.
I quit for about 30 days, and then I relapsed right before my wedding.
Okay.
Yeah, thinking that it was just gonna be, "Oh, I'm really nervous for my wedding, and I really don't wanna drink, so it'll be fine if I just take some kratom." Even though once I got over that hump of the first 2 weeks, like, I honestly felt a lot better. I wish that I just kept it going. But I relapsed on my wedding, and it just immediately from there became, again, definitely not a just once in a while thing. It was immediately just all day, every day for the next 4 years. Never made
Okay.
another attempt to quit. Like, I just knew I didn't want to. I wasn't ready yet, so
Yeah, for me, I felt like the acute phase is terrible, but I don't know. There's something about, like you mentioned, the depression and the anhedonia of like when you get to the 2-week to 30-day mark, that just always made me turn back to it for some reason. But yeah, and then I can see how once you're back on it, it gets really hard to want to get off it again. All right, so for that whole 4-year period, did your usage change at all in that 4-year period after you relapsed and got back on it when you got married? Did you just get on a steady dose and stay there, or did you progress into different usage of products, or what was your story like there?
What's interesting is that I would say for probably the first 3 out of the 5 years, I only used powder. And
Okay.
I never took capsules other than that first time that I tried it. I just had this bag of loose powder with me everywhere. And I think when I started up again and I knew now, like, the negative effects of kratom, I knew that so many people struggle with it now and I was more aware. That's when the shame kicked in. Like,
Okay.
I definitely wasn't telling people. My husband knew. He was the only person that knew about my use. And the more kratom addicts that I meet, I realize that so many of them hid this stuff from their partners, which I understand.
Yeah.
But he just knew from day one. So he was really the only person who knew how bad it was. But yeah, I just kept it more of a secret. I would say that I was slightly more aware of the amount I was taking. Like, I wasn't putting huge spoonfuls in my coffee anymore or anything like that. But I was definitely taking it whenever I wanted, revolving my whole day around my next dose. And then the last 2 years of my use, I would say, that's when I started trying extracts, but I was mixing them in. So I was not using
Okay.
them strictly. I wasn't using them. I know that some people say that they would buy the kratom kava tonics and they're taking 12 a day. Like, I would buy them. I think I wouldn't take more than definitely would not take more than 3 or 4 a day, and that was more of if I was on vacation or in a wedding or going to a wedding or something like that. I just mixed it in, and I wasn't taking them every day. But I
Okay.
will say that when I started working in those extracts, man, the finances, like, I realized how much more expensive it is,
Yeah.
and that was very shameful for me. Like, I wasn't used to going to the smoke shop, like, multiple times a week with my tail between my legs. Here we go. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you on that. I was primarily an extract user at the end, and I had a routine rotation of smoke shops to go to. Yeah. It was pathetic. We do what we do.
Yep. The cashier loved seeing me. She was always so happy. "Hey, oh, you have $5 off next time. Yay, cool." And I was just like, "Ugh, stop smiling
Yeah,
at me." I always walked in with, like, runny nose and a sweatshirt with my head down. Ugh, gosh, I can't believe,
same.
like, I'm this person.
I remember like the guy at the one place was like, "Oh, you bought 5, I'll give you the 6th one for free." I was like, "Great, I'm that person
Yeah.
now."
Discounts and deals because I'm such
Yeah.
a good customer, and I'm like, "Oh,
Well,
great. Here we go."
simultaneously happy that I'm saving a little bit of money and simultaneously pissed at myself that I'm in this situation, but yeah.
Yep. Very relatable.
Okay, so what got you to the point again in April of this year that made you decide that you're gonna get off this stuff?
April was my quit date where I jumped off of my taper.
Okay, good. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. Towards the end of 2024. Similar to the end of, like, my first quit. It was like I was not experiencing any positive benefits from kratom anymore. Like, my tolerance was super high. The typical, I'm just taking it to feel okay. I'm not taking it to feel any kind of boost or euphoria. I just felt awful. Like, my mental health was terrible. I do struggle with, I'm diagnosed with ADHD and OCD, which is like the pure O. So, like, I really thought for a while that kratom was helping with my OCD because I'd be ruminating and overthinking about something, and then kratom would silence those thoughts for a while. But then it's like everything that I thought kratom was helping me with, towards the end, it was just making all those things so much worse. And I noticed that I wasn't feeling social anymore. I was starting to isolate. It was like kratom used to make me, like, so social and outgoing and chatty. I was always yapping everyone's ears off. I was like the dang social chair in my friend group. Like I was always trying to get people together. And then towards the end, I noticed I didn't want to go anywhere or do anything. I didn't want to see my friends. And it was just so crazy that I had such a hidden addiction that I revolved my whole day around for 5 years. And no one knew about it except my husband. And I just felt like I was living a lie. And I have this thing where I actually really value honesty and authenticity in my relationships. And it was just eating away at me that I just felt like I had this facade, like this mask on, and that no one actually knew what I was going through. And I would show up with a happy face, smiling, whatever. And everyone thought everything was perfect with me. And it was just so far from the truth. And I was just desperate. It was in December of 2024. I didn't know what to do. I actually had been seeing a therapist who I love, by the way, and she does specialize in addiction. And I had been seeing her for about a year, and I really hadn't opened up to her with how bad my kratom addiction was. Like I was even downplaying it to her. And then finally, I just got to this point where I was just so desperate that I told her the truth, and I really wanted to go see my doctor. And I didn't even know what I thought my doctor was going to help me with. I was fully expecting her to not even know what kratom was, but I was just that desperate. I was prepared to teach her about what kratom is. But when I went, it was just my primary care doctor. She actually knew what kratom was. And she said, I actually sent someone to detox not that long ago for kratom. So I was very relieved that she did know what it was. She's not an expert by any means, but she recommended weaning off. And she said, this is what I would recommend to anyone that's on any kind of medication, anything that someone is physically dependent on. I would never recommend them to just rip off the Band-Aid and shock their brain and shock their system. If you can, try to wean yourself off. And I just took that advice and ran with it. I was just like, yeah, I'm going to try to do that. And she didn't prescribe me any of the typical helper meds, but she said she was worried about my mental health. Like she could see that I was just not myself. I was very depressed. So she prescribed me Wellbutrin, which I had been on one other kind of antidepressant before years ago, which I did not like. So I was very skeptical about it, but I just trusted her. She said this actually might help with cravings.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm not giving any medical advice, but this is just what she told me. She said that it's also prescribed to people who are trying to quit smoking. So I just tried it. I think that it just gave me that push to really get started. Mind you, I definitely still felt depressed, anxious, all of the above. Like I was not out of the woods by any means, but I think it just gave me, I don't know, like it relieved some of that fear of the horrible depression that I felt like I was about to experience. And I cut down on my daily use. Like I cut it down in half. So I took a really big jump right from the start when I started tapering, which I think personally, that's not how people typically taper. But for me, I felt like I had to take a big jump in the beginning. So I wasn't getting any kind of like euphoric boost from the doses I was taking, but it was keeping the physical withdrawals more at bay.
Okay.
So from there, I took this big jump on my daily use. I cut out all of the extracts right off the bat, and I was just taking powder. And I think the first week I was experiencing some physical withdrawals. Like I was experiencing that the temperature fluctuations. One second I'm sweating, the next second I'm shivering, and the runny nose and the constant crying. But after a week, that was pretty much done. Like I was sleeping, I wasn't having restless legs or anything like that, which the sleeping thing is a big thing for me. I'm completely non-functioning if I don't sleep. And I just heard stories of people they're quitting cold turkey and they can't sleep for 2 weeks. I was like, I just can't do that. So my
Yeah.
main priority really was I'm just trying to keep my head above water. I just need to sleep, go to work, teach yoga, do the bare minimum. And about every week or so, I would drop down 1 gram. And maybe sometimes it was more intuitive. Once I felt stable, once I felt pretty okay since my last drop, then I would drop down another gram. And so I tapered over the course of 3 months, a little bit over 3, 4 months. And then I jumped off at 3 grams and haven't taken any since. Now I'm almost at 5 months.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, we don't get too many guests that have been successful at tapering. I quit like 10 times, but I think it was the second time I quit, or maybe the first like real quit. I did a similar thing that you did. I did a lot faster taper, but I didn't know what the hell I was doing. But I like exactly cut out all the extracts. I switched to powder. I made a like massive drop from, I think I estimated with the extracts I was taking like 60 grams and went to 30. And from there, I tried to drop like a half gram or a gram every couple of days, and I think I jumped off at 5 grams or something, and there was still some withdrawals for 4 days, but it was nothing like, the ripping off the Band-Aid cold turkey from like a extract or 60 plus gram powder habit a day. What was it like when you finally ripped off the Band-Aid in April? What did you have any acute withdrawals for the first couple days, or what was that experience like?
Once I finally jumped off, I really did not have any physical withdrawal symptoms. I
Oh,
really
that's
didn't
great.
have many at all, except for the first week of my taper. Like, I really did avoid those physical withdrawals. The mental, emotional withdrawals, however, I didn't really escape those. It wasn't as bad as that first time when I went cold turkey.
Okay.
I was feeling it. I remember, like, on day 9 being like, oh my gosh, when am I going to feel better? And I'm isolating and I still don't want to do anything. And I was just scared of living, mainly scared of just getting myself out there. And it's just weird. Like, kratom was my main coping mechanism for 5 years.
Yeah.
So I feel like the hardest part really has just been dealing with everyday life, dealing with my emotions, dealing with normal triggers, and just sitting with the discomfort and figuring out other ways to like practice healthy escapisms. But what tapering I think did for me the most was I thought I had to do everything with kratom. Like, I could not teach yoga without kratom. I couldn't go out without kratom. I couldn't do anything without kratom. It totally robbed me of like my confidence in myself and just gave me this imposter syndrome. And what tapering did for me, it was like little by little, I was starting to prove to myself, okay, I guess I don't need kratom as much as I thought I did, because I thought I had to take 2 bottles of these kratom kava tonics to teach yoga. Now I'm taking half a teaspoon before I teach yoga and I feel fine. So it's like through these little wins and these little improvements throughout the course of my tapering, it was like I built more confidence in myself that I can do this without kratom. It just got me used to like sober life very slowly. I'm the kind of person where like I got to dip my toe in. And my therapist says I always need a lot of evidence before I make a decision.
Oh,
And it's
okay.
like I needed evidence that I could do hard things without it. And so once I jumped off, like I was like, I can do this. And I haven't really had, thank God, not yet. I really haven't had these moments where like I'm really craving it and I'm fighting myself to go to the smoke shop. It's not that. I'm really pretty 110% positive that I just do not want to do kratom anymore. But I will say I do have those moments where I'm just overwhelmed, I'm exhausted, and I just want to break from myself.
Yeah.
And so that's just been the learning experience, just figuring out how to live life on life's terms.
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. That's the hardest, I think, adjustment of sobriety, right? Because for most of your adult life, based on your previous alcohol addiction, your kratom addiction, you're used to having something to help with. Help is probably the wrong term, but having something to rely on to change your mood versus it doesn't matter what the world's going to throw at me. I have to just deal with it with my own brain without any chemical influence, and that adjustment isn't always smooth, to say the least.
But I would say at this point, like, I'm so glad that I'm talking to you being almost 5 months off versus those early days, because I do feel so much better and more capable already. Like, I've done some hard things without kratom that I definitely did not think I could do before. Because, like you said, before I started taking kratom, I was this party girl, right? So in every social scenario, I had a drink in my hand. And so I think I was 30 days on my exact 30 days off of kratom. I went to a wedding and
Yeah.
I was terrified. Like, we had to drive 8 hours to North Carolina, and I just wanted to turn around. I was like, "I don't know why I'm doing this." I had to see everyone from college that I hadn't seen in 8 years. I was just terrified. I'm like, "How am I gonna do this?" And my main goal was just to get through it without
Yeah.
taking them. But I actually had so much fun. Like, I had a blast. I was on the dance floor cutting it up. I was laughing with everybody. I was having a great time, and I was just completely shocked. And it's scary how you believe these lies that kratom tells you. Like, I need it to be the best version of myself, and it's just so not true. And social anxiety has always been my biggest struggle, just feeling like I'm enough
Yeah.
without a substance. And it's really cool. Like, I've really seen a lot of improvements, and I've just done things that scare me and just do it anyways. And I'm always really pleasantly surprised. Yeah, it's been pretty amazing. I really feel like I needed this experience. But I will say, compared to alcohol, like I said, I didn't drink alone. It was very much a social thing. Kratom was a whole nother beast for me
Yeah.
because it wasn't so obviously destructive to my life as alcohol was, but it was like an everyday addiction. And that was my first experience with that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I could see how that could definitely be a different experience and eye open. And yeah, what you said, I love that you're doing this interview with us now that you're almost 5 months off kratom versus 30 days in, because you're 100% right. You have to do some hard things in sobriety, and they stack up with the more time that you have at this point, being personally being 6 years away or over 6 years away from alcohol now, and more than 2 years off of kratom. I've done similar things, like you said, gone to weddings, gone back into some jobs I had in nightlife that I probably wouldn't have done if I was still on kratom. I had to experience some death and loss of family members. It just, and doing all those things sober, you don't think you can do them because your anxiety, like you said, stacks up and psychs you out. But then once you do them, you kind of realize this would have been so much harder if I was using versus sober, because I would have been just having to shove more kratom in my face or drink more alcohol to get past it. Whereas if you just deal with it, experience it, you can essentially move on and live your life versus just masking it with drugs and alcohol.
Life is hard, right?
Yeah.
There's the inevitable life problems. And I think I just accepted the fact that I would rather just deal with life's problems, face them, process them, and move on from them rather than constantly trying to run away from my problems, still not being able to fully avoid them. But then on top of that, I'm also dealing with an addiction and all the
Yeah.
problems that come with that. It's like it doesn't really solve anything, it just adds more on top of it. And I just accepted the fact that, yeah, I'd rather just deal with life as it is than just constantly trying to shove everything down. It doesn't really go away.
No, you're just delaying the inevitable. Some
Exactly.
point you got to deal with it. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm so excited that you've got that experience and that you were able to taper off successfully. So you mentioned therapy. Do you have any other recovery like tools in your tool belt?
Yeah. So while I was tapering, I didn't really have much of a community at all. It was just very hard to find people who were encouraging or had success stories with it. As you probably know, most people's response to I'm tapering or I'm trying to taper is I had people tell me online, of course. I don't know anyone in my real life who takes kratom, but just seeing people say, kratom, tapering off kratom is just holding on to your addiction, or it's impossible. I can't do that. I just had to go cold turkey. And it was discouraging because I was just pretty set on the fact that I wanted to taper off, just taking my doctor's advice. It just made sense to me.
Yeah.
So I really just relied on myself during that time, the tapering. I called it like an intuitive taper. But once I was off of it completely, I realized how badly I needed to relate to people and talk to people who knew what I was going through. And actually, I found this podcast, and just listening to other people's stories was so helpful. And then I found my recovery community online through the podcast, the There Is a Way Out virtual recovery group. And there's
Nice.
a 24/7 signal chat with a bunch of people who are just like always willing to talk to you, and meetings 3 times a day. And that kept me afloat for sure. During the first 30 days, I was like going to 3 meetings a day, and I loved it. And I was really practicing, I say I was like practicing vulnerability, because it was foreign to me to rely on a community at all, like a recovery community. When I quit drinking, I did virtual AA and I did the 12 steps. That clearly worked for me. Like, it changed my life, but I was very adverse to actually engaging with and relying on a community. Like, I don't know. I think I was just scared to be seen, to rely on people. But this
Yeah.
community was like the first time that I've really been involved and really opened up to people. And now I'm a host and I love it. And
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, and I just really love being there for other people and trying to offer some hope. It's not easy, but because the group is called There Is a Way Out.
Yeah.
There is a way out of
There is
it.
a way out. Yeah.
No, many people don't feel that way though when they're in the thick of it.
Yeah. Many people don't definitely feel that way. And that group is really awesome. It's been really cool to see the group grow from 1 or 2 meetings a week to, like you said, three meetings a day, and have so many hosts like yourself and different people getting involved. WhatsApp chat, single chat, all kinds of different ways to engage. So yeah, I'm glad that you found your community there too. Let's see. So how what was the other question I wanted to ask you? We talked about relapses and stuff like that. If someone was to come to you in one of those meetings, or if you were in a chat and they were really struggling and didn't know where to start, what would be like the first thing you'd advise someone to do that feels stuck on kratom, doesn't see a way out?
Oh gosh. That's a tough question. I feel like a big thing for me that I noticed for both quitting drinking and kratom is that there's this huge difference between feeling like you should quit and feeling like you need to quit and then wanting to quit. And I think that's why I didn't even have a quit attempt for 4 years after that first one, because I think deep down inside I knew I didn't want to quit. Like, I knew I should, but I didn't
Yep.
want to yet. And then it got to this point where there were no positive benefits, right? I think sometimes we have to take the rose-colored glasses off and de-romanticize kratom and really be honest with ourselves. What is kratom doing for me at this point? And remembering your why. I feel like a lot of success in quitting any substance is our mindset and being honest with ourselves. And that was just a big thing for me. Like, I had to write down a list of all the reasons why kratom sucks and like continuously remind myself that. Playing the tape forward is also really important. That's like a tool that
Yep.
you hear a lot in recovery groups. But like, when you have that thought or that craving of, oh, like I just really want to use right now, I really want to go to the smoke shop, it just play the tape forward. Is this actually helping you? Are you actually going to feel good when you do this? When it wears off, how are you going to feel? You're going to be in the exact same boat, but now you're just going to have shame piled on top of it. I think getting in the right mindset first is very important. And there's so many different approaches of, you can go cold turkey, you can taper. I feel like there's many different ways you can taper. Everyone has such a different history of use, the different products they use, how long they use, brain chemistry.
Yep.
Everyone has a different story with it. I think you really just have to, I do think you have to find a community, find people you can relate to, lean on them, and find what works best for you. Like, what quit method makes the most sense to you, your lifestyle, and try not to be too influenced by what other people say as far as you need to quit this way or you need to quit that way. Do what makes sense for you.
Yeah.
And commit to it. I know it sounds like so simple. Like, one side made that decision, like, I'm all in. I was
Yeah.
really all in. I was like, my only goal right now is just to hit the pillow without using and to just keep stacking those days, like moving one cement foot in front of the other. It feels like trudging through mud, but it eventually gets so much better. Takes time though.
Yeah.
It really does take time. You don't wanna hear it, but there's so many different supplements, there's so much advice people could give you. I feel like the main thing is time and
Yeah.
exercise too.
Yeah. Those two things really do help. And I love what you said about you can say you need to quit or I have to quit. You can read all the literature about how everything is bad for you, or you could feel it deep in your heart or your soul. But then you get to the point where until you say, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to do something different. I don't want this substance in my life. It's not helping me. It's not serving me. Until you get to that point, yeah, it's going to be very hard to be successful with a quit. I remember when I quit drinking, I read this book called Alcohol Explained, and it broke down how alcohol works and all the really negative things about the substance, and it really changed my perspective. And I did the same thing with kratom. I was like, okay, really all it's doing is partially activating my opiate receptors and releasing 50 other alkaloids into my body that I have no idea what the hell they're doing. Can't be good for me. There's absolutely no way this can be good for me. And it's taking a massive financial toll on my wallet, and my life's a mess, and it's just not, I just don't want to do this anymore. It took a long time for me to get there personally, but once you do get there, you're pretty much at the inevitability of quitting if you do the hard work, which it's hard, but it's doable.
And you can't really force yourself to get to that point. It's so strange because I remember for 4 years, like, it was like I could shove it in the back of my head, but every few months it would come to the forefront of my head. What am I doing? And the health anxiety is the worst part. I don't really know what I'm even doing to my brain and my body. I just know it can't be good. And just wondering to myself, when am I going to finally be done? Like, when is that moment gonna come? And it's hard. It's like you can't force it. But then one day you just realize, at least for me, this is not there's no pros anymore. Like, the pros are so much more outweighing the cons and just focusing on that. Also, I would say you really just gotta take a leap of faith. Like, I would say I know that everyone has a different spiritual background, and I'm very respectful of that, but I've gotten really close to God and my spirituality and just remembering, like, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. That's my mantra, and I've just really surprised myself with how strong I can be when I just take that first jump.
Yeah. Yeah, I can relate to all of that. You do have to just really make that intention and really stick to it, and it can be hard. I've relapsed plenty of times. So
Yeah.
sometimes it just you gotta go through what you gotta go through, and eventually you just gotta do it.
Yeah.
Let's see, maybe one or two more questions, and then I think we can wrap up here. So I'll ask maybe a personal, fun question. I always like to ask people, if you had ample money and ample time, if you could travel anywhere in the world, where would you want to go?
I knocked one of those off my bucket list.
Good.
Summer, always wanted to go to Italy, and I went. And funny story, actually. A couple years ago, I was supposed to go to Paris. I was supposed to go to Europe for the first time with my mom and with my aunts. It was a gift to me. And normally people would be very excited about that, but it filled me with dread because I knew that once I did some research that it is illegal in France. And I was like, how am I going to get it there? What am I going to do? I just didn't feel ready to quit before then and to go through that whole rigmarole process. I was like, am I going to get locked away in an international prison? So very unfortunately, I didn't go. But my husband and I booked a cruise to go to Italy and Greece for my 30th birthday this past July. And that was a huge motivator for me. I really wanted to just be in a good place, completely sober and feeling free on that trip. And I really do think that kept me very motivated because I just always kept that in the back of my mind. And I think I was at like the 100-day mark on the first day of my cruise, and that was awesome.
Oh, wow. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, and so now I think I have the travel bug, And it's really cool not having to worry when you travel about,
Yeah.
am I going to get it through TSA and is it illegal there and blah, blah, blah. So I definitely think my next trip, I would love to go to the UK. I love British television. I love Great British Baking Show and Love Island UK. And I just would love to go and just experience it. Also, really want
Yeah.
to go to Thailand too, but I know that flight is brutal, but it's beautiful once you get there.
Yeah, that's a long flight from the eastern seaboard of the US to Thailand. The UK is great. I've been a couple times to London and Scotland.
Oh, I'm
Um,
jealous.
yeah, I haven't been anywhere this year, but in 2 weeks, I'm going to Ireland and I'm gonna go to Northern Ireland, which is part of the UK, for a couple days. So I'm really looking forward to that. And like you said, I don't have to worry about stupid kratom or spending my whole trip in a pub because I'm still addicted to alcohol and want to do that too. So I'm really sober travel's pretty great.
Isn't that great? You can just be present and really just appreciate all the details. And like my husband and I were going on all these tours and stuff. And I was just thinking, gosh, if I was still drinking, I'd probably be hungover,
Yeah.
holed in my cruise bedroom, just drinking the whole time, spending all my money. It's just so nice being able to have that freedom.
Yeah, it definitely is. I've done it the other way, and there's plenty of times I missed getting up in the morning when I wanted to and all that stuff. Cool. Lauren, it's been really great talking to you. I think your story is going to be really helpful for people that are thinking about taper, and hearing your success and how you did it, I think will be really helpful for them. Is there anything else you want to share with the audience or any topics you want to hit on before we wrap up today?
I would just say that you can't believe the lies that Kratom is telling you. It's so crazy how once it sinks its teeth in you, you really just, like I said, you have this imposter syndrome. You think you need it for everything. And you really lose a lot of faith in your own abilities. And it's just so crazy the things that I thought I couldn't do without it. And I'm just proving myself wrong little by little. And there really is hope. Time is gonna be the biggest thing, and you just can't give up. It's hard in the beginning. I'm happy to be talking to you at this point because I can genuinely, honestly say from personal experience that it does get better. And there are ups and downs. A couple weeks ago, I was having a really hard week. Around my 80-day mark, I remember I just had so much like repressed emotions and memories and like things coming out of nowhere, like purging emotions almost. We don't realize how much we're shoving down with kratom and just substance use in general. And that's okay. Cry, let it, feel the pain, let it pass naturally. And eventually it really does get better. So I just want to offer that little bit of hope and positivity. I'm not blowing smoke your ass. Like it's real. So there is a way out, my friends.
There is, yeah. I can vouch for everything that you're saying. It's all true in my experience too. That is a great positive way, I think, to end this interview segment. So, Lauren, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And stay in touch. And if anybody, is interested in more details on tapering, we'll send them your way.
Yes, please reach out. I do want to be like a helpful resource to people who need help. So I would love that.
Awesome. Thanks again, Lauren. I wish you a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.